welcome back to Classic Comics. This is my review of Alien Romulus. I'll start with a non-spoiler review and then get into spoilers later. I'll warn you when the spoilers begin. So, is Romulus any good? Yeah, actually, I quite enjoyed it. I think it's the best Alien movie since the 90s, easily. It's not perfect, but I think the good aspects of the film carry it and they outweigh the negatives. As usual with these Alien films, the visuals are really strong. The set design is good. The CGI and the effects are all really convincing. The performances by the cast overall are quite good. The aliens look good, and the film is scary in the right ways. The director does a good job of building tension during the film, and the film has a satisfying conclusion. As far as being woke, there's not much of that in this. Although there is one aspect of this film that I did think was maybe you could argue is kind of woke. So in recent years, there's been a recurring trope where you'll have a female lead and then there will be a black male character who is devoted to the white female lead, not in a romantic way necessarily, and is just basically there to do whatever the white woman wants, basically. Now, the first time I noticed this in a big way was in The Force Awakens with Rey and Finn, and there have been other examples, although I can't remember them all, but that trope occurs here again in this movie. So you've got the female lead, Rain, a white woman, and then she has an adopted brother. It's not really her brother, it's an android named Andy. And Andy is played by a black man, and he's been programmed to basically do whatever she wants or take care of her. And yeah, so you get that kind of dynamic again. And to be fair now, I do think that the chemistry between the two actors works. And I like both their characters, but it is just kind of weird how this trope keeps coming up. I didn't think that the main character was a girl boss type character, by the way. The plot from this movie does build on lore that's been established in some of the previous films, particularly in the original film and in Prometheus. So, what didn't work in this film? Well, I did feel the film was a bit slow to start. It doesn't really get going until about 30 or 40 minutes in. There are a few plot points that had me scratching my head a little bit, but they're mostly just minor things. The film does indulge in some member berries at a couple of points, but it didn't ruin the film for me. And really, that's kind of it. I don't have a lot of complaints with this movie. Overall, I thought it was a pretty solid entry in the series. It's not as good as the first two, but I think it holds up pretty well against Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection. I'll get into spoilers now. If you haven't seen the movie, you can drop out and come back later if you like. So the basic plot here is that there's a young woman named Rain who's working on a mining facility on an isolated world for wayland-yutani. She lives there with, again, her adopted brother who's an android. And the android was damaged, so the android basically is kind of like the human equivalent of being mentally handicapped. He stutters and he's kind of slow. Now, she understandably wants to get off of this miserable world because, the people who are working there for wayland-yutani, they're little more than slaves, really. And she and her friends all hope to eventually leave this world and travel to some other one. But of course, they can't just do that. The closest world is 9 years away at sublight speed, so you pretty much have to have cryo units. So Rain has a male friend. I don't remember his name, but he's the male lead, and he has a small ship. And he tells Rain that he has discovered an abandoned wayland-yutani ship that's in orbit over the planet, and the ship has cryo units in it. And he proposes that they use his ship to go up, dock with this ship, and then take the cryo units off of it, put them in his ship, and then they can leave this awful place and they can travel to another world to start over in cryosleep. And they need Andy along because since it's a wayland-yutani ship, Andy being a wayland-yutani android, he'll probably be able to overcome some of the security protocols and stuff like that. So they get up to the ship, and when they get there, they realize it's not a ship, it's a space station, a pretty big space station called Romulus. And the space station is in a decaying orbit that's going to cause it to fall into the planet's rings and be destroyed in, I think it's 36 hours. So they get on board and they find the cryopods, but the power cells are low. So they're not going to be able to make the 9-year trip to this other world. So then they start searching the station for other power cells that they can use to power the cryopods. So they find a lab where there are more batteries, but they don't realize that the power cells are being used to keep facehuggers in cryo-freeze. A lot of facehuggers. So when they start removing the batteries, the facehuggers begin to thaw out, and well, you can imagine what happens from there. Now, I do question a few things in this film. First of all, this is a mining facility, so presumably they're mining this ore so that it can then be loaded onto ships and then taken somewhere else. So that implies that this place probably has a starport or landing facility of some kind, and that implies that they probably have radar or some other sort of sensor equipment. So why is it that no one on the planet has noticed this space station that's in a decaying orbit? It turns out that Wayland-Yutani was experimenting on a xenomorph, but it's not just any xenomorph. It's the original xenomorph that Ripley faced in the first movie. Now, I don't even know what the mathematical odds would be of finding a single human-sized body in the vastness of interstellar space, but I'm guessing it's pretty small. But okay, fine, whatever. There's also one scene where a character uses the "leave her alone, you bitch" line, and it was probably the most cringy moment in the movie. In fact, there's several references and callbacks to earlier movies, particularly to the first movie and Prometheus, but they work for the most part. Overall, Alien Romulus is a satisfying monster movie. I'll give it 3.5 alien eggs out of 5, and I recommend that you check it out. Let me know what you thought of Alien Romulus and my review in the comments, and please like this video and sub to the channel and check out some of my other videos while you're here, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.